Concentrate fire on the designated target.
私たちの勝利が目前。この程度の敵、話にならないわ。敵巡洋艦を撃沈よ。
Hey, how's it going, captains? Admiral Hattori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. I tell you what, that opening clip with my Thunderer devastating that Angle Zhao was quite impressive and extremely satisfying. Unfortunately, the Thunderer is one of the several ships that are going to be removed from the game in the near future. So if you have any interest for an accurate tier 10 battleship, the Thunderer is a pretty good candidate to get right now from the armory with coal. So in this video, I want to take the opportunity to talk about my thoughts on the state of World of Warships. I think my longtime subscribers who are still watching my video might have noticed that 2020 has been a year where I have been inactive with late 2019. I used to exclusively upload World of Warships video almost every week, and during the summer when I was still in college, I would upload like every 2 to 3 days, and there have been moments where I actually upload every day in the month. I think that was my record. And that's when I was enjoying World of Warships at the time. I was enjoying making content and playing this game. And I played this game since 2015 when it came out during the beta, and then the game became official in 2016, I believe. I consider the golden era of World of Warships around 2016 to 2018. But today, it's 2020, and I upload like every once a month, and there'll be times where I become inactive for 2 to 3 months before I upload another video, which kind of foreshadows my stance on World of Warships. I want to point out that when you play a game long enough, when you do something long enough, there will come a time where you become fatigued and you're just done with it. And those are one of the times I'm having right now. At the same time, World of Warships has been a unique game where I told myself I was going to quit this game, but somehow they managed to bring me back to World of Warships and start making content again. And that is just the reality of life. That is one of the things in life that with time, things will change, whether it's for the good or for the worse. And at the moment, I feel that World of Warships is heading towards that direction for the worse. And there's a lot of things that are going on in the game. The 3 things I want to talk about right now, the loot boxes situation. The second thing is just the way the game feels and play, and the third thing is what do I expect? I really don't know what else to expect. How far this game has come. I witnessed the coming of age, the transformation of this game from the beginning. I wouldn't say the absolute beginning, because the people who bought the alpha pass, those guys were from the absolute beginning. I came during the open beta. So let me just put this out here. World of Warships is a unique game to me, and the reason why is because it's a game that you get to play warships. In terms of World War II, I know this game does stretch from the Dreadnought, World War I to some Cold War ships that you'll see in this game, like the Russian tech tree. But yeah, it's a unique game that you get to play a warship. You get to take the helm of a battleship, an aircraft carrier, a destroyer. You get to do things. You get to fire the guns, drop torpedoes, and submarines are on their way to this game. There's no stopping that. And that's why I was drawn to this game, because I always wanted to play a World War II theme game, even though again this stretches from World War One to Cold War. To use technology, just these vehicles, because most World War II games I've played, I've seen on the market is dominated by first-person shooter at a smaller scale. But World of Warships is different because you get to play at a larger scale in theory, but it's kind of still a small scale because it just treats ships as if they're normal size when they're definitely not. And you get to do things like blast that Zao out of the water with my Thunderer. It's satisfying. And before I played World of Warship, I was not knowledgeable in anything when it comes to naval warfare. I didn't know much about the ships at the time. All I knew was that there's this thing called aircraft carriers, battleships, and cruisers. And I heard about destroyers, but I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what to do because I don't know how many people out here nowadays, depending on how old you are. But there'd be a board game called Battleships, and for me, I played the digital version of Battleships on a small, cheapo device. I don't know what it was, but it's like a Game Boy or something like that, but definitely not a Game Boy. But yeah, Battleship, and all they show is just rectangular digital pixels, and they call it aircraft carrier, battleship, cruiser, or something like that, destroyer. I didn't know what it was, but once I started looking into World War II and learn about World of Warships, and the trailers absolutely was great. The cinematics is just impressive. I mean, let's not downplay their cinematics, especially with the Naval Legends. But yeah, I was hooked into World of Warships, and the first day I started playing World of Warships, it was fun getting citadels, fighting people. Everyone was engaging each other, fighting, shooting. Just people. The mentality at that time was just having fun. Nowadays is, you gotta be kidding me. Why are you doing this? People people are toxic. It's you do get good games nowadays too. There's people out there who are willing to socialize with you, have fun with the game, but I find it rare nowadays. So generally the mood playing this game, as some people would describe it, is that it has become World of Tanks in terms of the community. And that's the community side. I know a lot of people out there just will defend that, yeah, this is how online games are nowadays, but there are certainly games out there where the community is great, and World of Warships for me was once a great community, because I remember very vividly where people would compliment you more than they called you out for doing something, calling you useless. And yes, there's one topic that's been going around that there are been a lot of issues with the skill, people pushing skill-based matchmaking, because a lot of the high tier matches have been one-sided. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, I think a lot of people forgot what caused this factor from the beginning. World of Warship is a growing game. It's definitely growing. I mean, there's plenty of YouTube videos I watch where they get sponsored by World of Warships. At the same time, like I said, this game has come of age, has changed, for the good, for the worse. And there's a lot of new factors that could have affected how games are nowadays. And those are certainly present. There's just no denying how the game plays today compared to before. And I want to get down with the first thing. The first topic is the loot boxes and the marketing. It has been pretty extreme. I want to point out something that where really stood out this year for 2020, because I'm kind of reviewing 2020 World of Warships. There's the anime and the weeb community, and I know that World of Warships, the community generally, they make up a good portion. They're not necessarily the majority, because majority are just into World War II ships. There's been fights in the forums, people want to ban anime or get rid of weebs, or people just make fun of them for buying weeb stuff. I remember iChase, who made a video saying that thank the weebs, because this was the first time we witnessed, at least the weeb or anime community, the people who follow this stuff, but the high school fleet, the arpeggial, the Azure lane, they have been monetized harshly this year. The Azure lane, which I was looking forward to, the second wave, was far worse than the first wave, or I think it's the third wave. I don't know what wave it is, but it got worse progressively. And the reason why is because the first wave was that you can actually get one commander for free, and then you can buy the other commanders outright or pay for the boxes. And most people would buy them outright because there's specific commanders that people like. And for me, you might have noticed that I do have a commander on my Thunderer, the Nelson commander, but there are commanders I like, and there's other commanders that I just don't care for, and I don't know why people like it, but hey, that's their taste, that's their business, and that's just me. I remember the first Arpeggio, which is the first collaboration in World of Warships, was they gave you 2 Miokos, 2 Congos, 4 Congos, 4 Miokos for free, and later on you were able to sell them for credits if you didn't care for anime. Through missions, just by playing the game, they're free. Now, the recent Arpeggio, out of nowhere, decided that instead of selling the Yamato camouflage, they sold a tier 10 ship outright. And people, yeah, suckers, right? Weebs, if you're weeb enough, they bought it. They bought into it. They spent over $100 for a Yamato with a pretty skin on it. The Musashi was what I expected for the Yamato. A skin, a camouflage. But Wargaming took it to the extreme, and the loot boxes. These loot boxes are extremely expensive. I think they were like $10 a piece versus $5 to $6 back in the day. And the ongoing thing about loot boxes are the Santa crates. And let me talk about Santa crates. They're considered the best premium thing you can buy of the year. But this year has been the opposite, because there's been talk about being rigged, where you have to have a Makarov in order to get the good ships, because if you unbox a Makarov from the mega crates, then it's forced to give you a super container, which will get a ship out of the good ships out of the list, the pool of ships. But you're guaranteed to get a shitty ass ship from what I've seen in the short list. And there's just been talk about it, you can look it up. Before, back in 2016, 2017, Santa crates were good because you pay $20 and you get like 20, not 20 crates, but like 10 to some crates, and you're pretty much guaranteed a good premium ship. Almost guaranteed, but some people rolled the bad ones, but let's just say you're guaranteed a ship. I watched 2 to 3 videos, and there are people who actually unboxed 30 crates and they didn't get a single ship. It's that bad. And even if you get the ship, the ongoing talk about being rigged is where you get a shitty ship. If you own that shitty ship, then you will get the super container, which actually rolls for the good ship pool, or the big pool of ships that you can get a good one or a decent one, or possibly another shitty one. But now you have to have a shitty ship in order to get into the club of big good ships. Before that, you're guaranteed to be in the pool. Guaranteed to be at least a contender to roll a good ship out of that pool, or just get camouflage and flags. That's no longer the case. It's been rigged, and there've been talks that it might be bugged, but generally, if it's truly rigged, then yeah, disappointing. Follow up with the fact that the weeb community warned us before this was going to happen, because again, most people in the community didn't care for anime, but hey, thank the weeb, right? That was iChase's video for them being a sucker giving Wargaming money, but they were really one of the precursors of pointing out that they are overpricing these crates, and they're making it ridiculous to getting these things, these premium stuff. And that carried on to something more universal, which was the Santa crates. No longer are we calling them Santa crates, because back in 2016, 2017, people just called them Santa crates or Santa boxes. Now they're called loot boxes. And there is the whole story that if anyone who plays a video game in this time of age would know about the loot boxes. Now moving on to number 2 is just about how I feel about playing the game. I am going to be straightforward here, and there's just no denying that there are gonna be a good number of you guys that disagree with me, and that's just completely fine. People have different opinions. There's guarantee someone, whoever you play, when you play long enough on World of Warship, you talk to enough people, there's gonna be at least one person who disagree with you, whether you like it or not. So the 2 things that stand out for me that I just don't enjoy in this game, that has really degraded my joy of playing World of Warship has been HE spamming and aircraft carriers. I'm gonna start with HE spamming. I have no problem with cruisers and destroyers HE spamming and trying to get damage, because that's one of the biggest source of damage. No problem with it, but it becomes a problem when it gets out of hand. And yes, I am primarily a battleship player, but I play destroyers, cruisers, and aircraft carriers. I played this game for 5 years, and I have a tier 10 Goering. I have a tier 10 Z-52, which is now a ship that you rarely see. I have cruisers, Des Moines. I have all these other ships, aircraft carriers. So I don't just play battleship. It's just that I choose to main battleship as my primary type to play in this game. But there's one thing that is for certain that the game has changed over 5 years, is that there's been more ships. And as they introduce more ships, they introduce more factors. And HE spamming has become out of hand, in my opinion. I just feel like it's getting seriously out of hand. How did I know that? Well, the fire duration reduction time, whatever that flag was, I used to have like 800 of those flags. Now I only have 50 of them. It got that bad where I get HE spammed to death. And there's the Smolensk, there is, I forgot, was that the French one, where it's also HE spamming. Yeah, those ships are now considered not obtainable. Well, the French one you can obtain, but it's kind of hard. But the Smolensk was at one point was the most popular ship to play, but they're out there. There's been destroyers and cruisers with ridiculous HE. And to me, the thing that has changed is that there's more HE ships out on Warships, but the HE mechanic in this game hasn't changed. Or it might have changed, but I don't think it has changed. I might be wrong, because 5 years is a lot to just think right now to come up, talk about. But the mechanic itself has not adapted to the changes. I just don't agree with the fire how it works in this game. It's I play battleships. They're the number one thing that people want to set on fire besides an aircraft carrier. But I just feel it's really obnoxious to play battleship. And that's one of the primary reasons why if you play a battleship in the high tiers, a lot of battleship players like to hang out in the back, because a lot of battleship players, they just get sick of being spotted for, being spotted first, and they're just going to get HE spammed to death. I get moments where even though I have fire prevention, basic survivability, the fire reduction time for that, whatever that upgrade, and with the flag, I get burned to death. It's just beyond me. And not only that, HE does destroy anti-air, which brings me to the aircraft carrier topic. Aircraft carriers. I have been, if people who follow me long enough, I know there's a lot of people out there who join and subscribe to my video who haven't watched an aircraft carrier video, but I'm also one of the people who likes aircraft carrier. And let me just hold your rage right now, your salt, because I know aircraft carriers, people hate them so much. But let me just remind you that I play World of Warships because it was unique. You get to play warships. I like World War II, and I've been dominated with first-person shooter. I decided to try something different, and that was warships. And aircraft carriers, when I started playing World of Warships, I was just completely ignorant of anything about naval warfare. But when I started reading about aircraft carrier design, the transformation, it has truly inspired me to try out aircraft carriers, and I do enjoy reading it. I do enjoy using the Nakajimas from the Japanese, the Zeros, the American Wildcats, Hellcats, Corsairs. It's just cool, man. I mean, yeah, I just think it's cool. I know people are gonna say aircraft carriers aren't warships. Well, they are warships. They're used in naval warfare. It's just that you just don't agree with dealing with planes as their weapon type. I truly believe that aircraft carriers can be implemented in this game. It's just that right now, AA is absolutely garbage dealing with aircraft carriers. I push for the aircraft carrier rework. I'm not going to lie right here out of my mouth, because if you look at my old aircraft carrier videos, I believe that in the old RTS version, aircraft carriers were a problem. And a lot of people complain about aircraft carriers being, completely out of the water. Those people have no clue before the rework how powerful aircraft carriers are. Because back in the day, an aircraft carrier can choose to delete a battleship. Yes, you get deleted. You can delete a tier pits, a curve first. You can choose to do so way back in the day, and then later on they changed the loadout, and loadout becomes an issue, but they can still do massive amount of damage in the RTS version. But the big thing here, I'm not going to talk about the mechanics of aircraft carriers with the old version, but the big thing that stood out in the previous version was that a good player, extremely Unicum on the other team, will have absolute control of the outcome of the game, where on your team you have a completely low skill player. And there's nothing wrong with being low skill. It's just that it's not the right time to have a low skill player in a match in a class of ship that really influence the game. There is no comparison with the previous version of aircraft carriers RTS style with a dominant player can can strike anyone. I use the word anyone because since I play aircraft carriers, there have been certain ships, and this also brings up the other point about anti-air being garbage right now. But back in the day, anti-air actually works. But in the previous version, the aircraft carrier was smart enough they wouldn't strike certain ships, but later on they will strike it near the end of the game once they have enough planes left, because they deal with the ships that are completely invulnerable. They were just a lot stronger than the predetermined games. These players have 80% win rates. Yes, 80%. If you didn't know, you looked them up. They had 80% win rates on midways, Hakuryus, Taihos. They were absolutely dominant. Versus nowadays, I think at best maybe 70% from what I've seen. So I was a proponent for aircraft carrier change, and Wargaming has achieved that. They have achieved dealing with the skill gap. But what they certainly forgot was anti-air, and that was a great thing about the previous version of the aircraft carrier days, is when anti-air actually works. Des Moines actually have a reason to be at sea. Woostas actually have a reason to build a build on their commander tech tree. Well, it's not tech tree, but their skill tree, not tech tree, skill tree. They actually have a reason. And this brings me to the expectation part of this video. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to expect, because there's a lot of things going on in Water Warships. And the simple solution for me is that, just quit the game. And it's kind of hard for me to say that, especially when I put in 5 years and the number of premium ships I have on my account, the number of ships and basically the time I put into playing this game is just gonna fade away. Just put it into, store it away. And I don't regret a single day or moment throughout my 5 years that I didn't like Water Warships, because if I didn't like Water Warships, I would have stopped playing this game since day one. But I did enjoy it. I play this ship, I hear a tech tree coming out, I do research. It's like, oh wow, the Italian battleships are cool. I read stories about how Italians developed their battleships, or the German battleships came out. At the time when the German battleships came out, I always hear the word Bismarck. But I truly didn't know what the Bismarck was. I even heard it in history class. I remember my history teacher talked about the Bismarck, how crazy it was, even though he didn't show a picture of the Bismarck, so I was kind of disappointed. But when I saw the Bismarck came out, I was like, yeah, this is the ship that people talk about, and I can't wait to get it. Or for people who've been here long enough, the Tier Pits Apocalypse, when everyone bought the Tier Pits, the first Tier 8 premium ship. And, the game has changed has left behind all that stuff behind, and nowadays we have what Water Warship is today. So my expectations, it's kind of hard to expect something, because there's a lot of things going on. At least the marketing wise, I hope they tone it down. Please tone down the marketing. But I feel that they need to look into old mechanics, the HE spamming. I mean, they changed the flood mechanic, because before, if you get one flood, you pretty much toast. If you guys remember when flooding used to do a ton of damage, at the same time, I feel like flood should do a little bit more damage for for destroyers, because there's some destroyers just struggle with doing well in the game. And that's another topic. Playing destroyer. I talked about battleship perspective. Let's talk about destroyer, because destroyers also have a lot of shit to deal with. Because there's games where there's a ton of radar ship on their side for some reason, and your side, you just gotta deal with it. I have no problem with radar. It's just that I have a problem when practically a lot of cruisers nowadays have radar. Because you look at the Americans and the Russians, you got two tech trees, because you got the light and heavy cruiser that have radar. And it becomes obnoxious, especially when your team doesn't have radar at all, and the enemy team has radar on all their cruisers. It's just a headache. With the fact that you got rapid firing ships like Smolensk that will delete you in a couple seconds, or other rapid firing ships with an aircraft carrier. There's just a lot that is going on with this game, which comes to the conclusion that change can be good and change can be bad. And one of the things that you learn in war is that the transformation of technology, which sounds kind of weird when I put it in terms of Water Warships, but the game the war in this game has really changed the battle on the battlefield, because there's a lot of things you gotta deal with nowadays compared to before, because before was simpler times, but as you add more ships, add more features, and change things around, there's a lot more things to deal with. Because back in the day, there was no such thing as deep water torpedoes that you had to worry about. You don't have to worry about radar. You don't have to worry about your AA being completely garbage, which Wargaming should really look into, making it rewarding to have an AA ship. At the same time, balance it out with how aircraft carriers are going to deal with AA and not make them completely garbage. There's a lot of things I could say, and I can't really fit it in this video. I'm going to stop it at around 26-25 minutes of this video, because I'm going far too long. You get the idea where I'm kind of frustrated in certain points, but I just really hope that World of Warships turns it around, because 2020 has been the year where I just have no will of playing this game or finding any fun, because every time I log on, the only reason I log on is because I'm looking forward to grabbing some sort of award from a mission like the Oklahoma, because I kind of wanted the Oklahoma. But yeah, you get the idea. I didn't log on to War Worship because I wanted to have fun. I logged on because I was worried that I was gonna miss out on the event, that at some point maybe I find some fun in World of Warships. So aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time on my channel.